Welcome to the channel. My name is Jodie Knight. You can find me over on eToro. My live portfolio there is going to be linked in the description down below. But other than that, in this video, we're going to talk about the daily chart, the weekly chart, the short and long-term, long-dated options interest. We'll talk a little bit about my price targets, where I'm going to add, where I'm going to trim. As well as that, we'll look at the general market, what data came out, what data is coming out, and if there's any good Tesla news that we're interested in. Let's just jump straight into it. Okay, let's hit the ground running because it's Christmas Eve and I would like to watch Christmas movies all day. Let's just jump straight into the chart. Tesla chart looks great. We've obviously had this pullback. It's been a broad market pullback, so no surprise. Had two really good trims at the top there. Haven't added back because, as I mentioned in my video yesterday, I am illiquid right now. I'm fully into all the things I want to be in. I have no more buying power until the first of the month when I make my monthly deposit on eToro, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, I'm not going to be trading or changing too much over the Christmas period anyway, so it's neither here nor there really. But the pullback for Tesla has been quite nice. Top to bottom, 15%. If you weren't in Tesla, this is your golden opportunity to be in Tesla. To the downside, I'd expect, that $400 is going to be really good support. We are starting to build out quite a nice volume chunk here. If this can develop a little bit more, that gives us a really nice base to launch from. Below that, though, we've obviously got this golden Fibonacci, and then the peak volume here at around 350, 345. So I would love for price to get back down there, but I think that might be a little bit wishful thinking given all the momentum that Tesla's got lately. Overall price targets, so for 2025, I'm kind of looking at the $500 to $700 range. Yes, it's quite a big range, but really it's going to be hard to pinpoint a specific price for Tesla currently. A lot of the products coming out, mid to late 2025, so we don't know the pricing structure, we don't know the demand. It's really hard to project that short term when there's that much unknown. But all the way up to 2030, the numbers just get absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not going to say what I'm looking at because, I mean, they're pie in the sky, right? We don't know what the bots are going to look like, how fast they're going to be able to scale up. We don't know what the affordable car scaling up process is going to be like. We don't know how fast they'll be profitable. There's just too much stuff unknown. But what I do know is prices are going to be going up. I just don't know, specific prices. But I work with what I've got. It's still one of my larger positions in my portfolio. I would like to grow it if price stays depressed like this. So more on the chart, we talked about upside, downside, indicators. So we've got this kind of, that's not a correct divergence now. So we cooled off a little bit, which is good. RSI could come a bit lower, but we did have this really nice wick. So generally when you have a big wick, price tends to go the other way. Doesn't always have to happen. Something to be aware of though. MACDX Plus did give us some overbought alerts, so it makes sense why we cooled that off. I'd like to probably stay low a little bit longer. And flow is, kind of neutral. Let's take a look at the weekly. Okay, so this one paints a slightly different picture. Obviously, we've got the really strong wick above, which kind of indicates more downside. So looking at this chart, it's sort of saying we'll probably get a little bit of a chop, but one bit of news these days for Tesla and things just go flying to the upside or flying to the downside. So you can't always rely purely on technicals for this one. The RSI on the weekly is a little bit spicy, but Tesla could go way higher than that. So not really a red flag or anything to be too cautious of. Flow's looking a bit tired, but it could continue like that. And MACDX Plus looks really good actually on this one. Institutions still look good. Let's take a look, see what the options market's thinking on this one. Okay, straight out the gate, we're kind of fairly close to the middle of the resistance and support. We can see here $500 is a really key strike area, so that one's going to be a tough one to break. Market makers are going to want to sell that one off, but we do have quite a nice volume at 545. I have seen a lot of analysts start lifting their price targets up, so kind of makes sense. To the downside though, not a whole lot, kind of not a lot of bets to the downside. These ones are probably legacy, but let's push out a week into January. Not a whole lot of action there either. I mean, Makes sense. Christmas period, right? No one's going to want to be worrying about something messing up with their trades. Let's go February, see what's cracking on with that. That would get rid of all this New Year rubbish and stuff. So price looks to be a bit lower. Again, there's not a whole lot of people looking at downside action on this one, so that's interesting. Just out of curiosity, let me take a look at 2026. Interesting that someone thinks we're gonna get back to $200 in by the end of 2025. A lot of these are already in the money. So overall it looks fairly bullish. Let's scroll up, see if there's anything up here. So nothing about this really looks too bearish. A lot of people probably wanting to use Tesla to hedge the market. I would imagine a lot of this will be if there is some kind of recession, car companies don't do well. We've seen that during COVID and stuff as well. 2027, just to be nosy. Again, a lot of that downside action's gone, looking a lot more bullish. So to me, the options market on this one looks more like hedging rather than actual, expectations for Tesla. So again, a lot of this seems to be more macro driven. To me, that's just my interpretation. Yours may be different. News-wise for Tesla, obviously Tesla's everywhere in the news right now. So much going on. Elon's doing loads of stuff, but Tesla's still managing to execute. So this man has got far too much energy. He's making me feel bad. A couple of bits that I did want to talk about though. The China numbers look really good, on par for I think 500,000. I think for the Q4. That is insane. Just this month, in 3 weeks, is about 58,000 vehicles being insured. So bullish on the car part of the company as well, which is not normally the part that excites me too much. Other than that, though, the FSD Tesla Chan put on there, that the pace in which they're bringing out software updates is just ridiculous. And that brings us on to something else that I wanted to talk about. If you don't want to be the person that's sifting through all these numbers and finding all this data, find someone that's doing it. You don't have to do it yourself if someone's offering it. So I have my Tesla thesis and all my research, and then I go out and I find other people that do research in more specific areas than me. So Tesla Chan is a good example. He's very, very data driven, but I subscribe to Substacks, Patreons, Discord channels, all that stuff to find people that are really good at deep diving. I think there's even on YouTube, Curious Peggy, I think his name is. He's also got some kind of Patreon or something as well, or subscription, but he does really good, data grabbing and stuff like that. So if you have a company you really like, you don't have to spend hours and hours researching them. You can find someone that's done that research and just build that into your thesis. But make sure you also look at bear theses. Look at people that are also negative on the company and find out if their arguments are warranted or if they're just complete baloney because they don't like Elon. But also this works for any company you're looking at. Did want to also show this global automotive industry chart. Tesla is just, how can anyone think Tesla is just a car company when they see how much bigger that company is? Even, yes, we could argue price is a little bit extended. It's front running some of its gains for next year, but all companies do that. But do we expect any of these other car companies to be able to do that? If anything, we're seeing the opposite. I think Nissan and Honda starting to do a partnership. These OGs are starting to get, the screws are tightening on them. I wouldn't really be betting on any of them. I think it's going to get to a point where we see a lot of licensing deals with Tesla for their drivetrain and their FSD stuff, which isn't new in the industry. Car manufacturers for a long time, sometimes you buy a car and you take it to a dealership and they'll be like, oh, it's I don't know if this is true, but it'll be a Honda with a Ford engine or something really weird. But they all sell to each other different things. So it's nothing new in the industry. It's going to happen eventually. These other car companies just can't keep pace. Macro data. Yesterday we had a few little bits. Let's have a quick look. I haven't looked through this yet, so bear with me. I'm still reading it. Fed National Activity Index came in. I would say that's pretty on par with the expectation, really. Durable goods month over month came in worse than expected. It's not been in a good place for a while. Durable goods, excluding transport, came in quite bad. I mean, I did warn about that yesterday, that transport lifted the number up on the previous date we'd seen last week. So I expect that one to not be as good. Building permits, negligibly different from forecast, month over month final. But again, we're not expecting strength in this area because we know that's kind of lagging, or whatever you want to call it. Durable goods, excluding defense, came in worse than expected. Non-defense goods orders, excluding air, came in better than expected. Consumer confidence, don't like that number, coming in at 104 instead of 112, and much lower than previous read. I would like to see that stay the same. More homes data, again, not too excited about that one at the moment. It's never going to be good over Christmas, really. Yeah, not much else exciting. So overall, the data yesterday, nothing to get excited about. It's not any like really major concerns that are making me think, oh my god, tides are changing. I'm starting to get a little bit more worried that the beginning part of 2025 is not going to be great. I think there's a lot of worry creeping into the market, a lot of tightening the purse strings and stuff like that. But we'll have to wait and see. I might have to. Maybe I was wrong earlier in the year. I thought early 2025 will be the better part of the year, and then the later will sort of lag. And I'm starting to think it's switching. It's okay to change your thesis sometimes, guys. Remember that you don't have to be like come up with a plan and then just stick to it. Something to bear in mind when you're looking at the markets. Things change. The entire spider web of the market is very shifting. It's constantly adjusting. Data today, not much exciting. Probably don't really care too much about any of this. The Fed services revenues, I think, is probably going to be the only thing I really look at. And then nothing tomorrow because it's Christmas. That's us all done and dusted for another Tesla Tuesday wrap up. If you enjoyed this content, give the video a like, share it with your mum, your nan, your dog, your dad, whoever, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you tomorrow.